Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel. Today we're going to be looking at some Palkia VSTAR Stellar Miracle decks in today's video. Palkia gets a gigantic buff with Stellar Crown. Stellar Crown is going to be our new set coming out in September. Japan does have the half of the set, the Stellar Miracle set, and a lot of the new cards from Stellar Miracle make Palkia so much stronger, and Palkia could genuinely be a top-tier deck in the format again, thanks to the brand new set, Stellar Crown, and I definitely wanted to look at some early deck lists here from Japan to see what people are building with Palkia, because Palkia has immediately shot up. I've seen a lot of talk on Twitter about Palkia being really broken again with the new set, and I definitely wanted to take a look at some of the lists and break down why the deck is about to be so much stronger. Because Palkia is honestly, kind of mediocre right now. There's not really anything crazy going on with Palkia until we get the new set. And of course, I will leave a link to Book, the set I'm using here, in the description below if you want to go check out any of the decks for yourself. I get a lot of my Japan deck list from this site. And of course, I'll have Bulbapedia here if we need to look up any specific scans and translations for any of the new cards in the new set that we're going to be talking about in today's video. And if y'all are new here to the second channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We're on the road to 16,000 subs. And if you go on to enjoy the video, leave a like. Let me know what you think of Palkia VSTAR down in the comments below with these new upgrades. So like I said, Palkia gets so much better. It is pretty crazy. So we do have some lists here to look at. The first one here, and I guess like the main one we'll look at, I guess, to start things off here, is some of the new cards. So you can look at the Palkia deck here. There's a lot of new cards in the deck that do make it a lot stronger. Now, the big one and the main card that makes this card strong is all thanks to the brand new Stadium card, the Area Zero Depths. Now, this card basically states each player who has any Terra Pokemon in play can have up to 8 benched Pokemon. This is a very similar card to Skyfield, which as long as Skyfield is in play, you could always bench up to 8 Pokemon. This card, you do have to have a Terra Pokemon on your bench in order to activate it. Thankfully, there's a lot of really good Terra Pokemon. There's even a brand new basic Terra Pokemon in this new set that makes this card stronger. Now, your opponent can also use this card, obviously, and, if you're playing against, like, Charizard EX, which is also a Terra Pokemon, or a deck using Ogerpon, that's another Terra Pokemon. But at the end of the day, you're trying to take advantage of it the best you can. And if your opponent wants to bench Pokemon under this card with their Terra Pokemon in play, that's only going to make your Palkia stronger. And of course, the effect is you have to have a Terra Pokemon in play. So if you don't have a Terra Pokemon in play, the Stadium card is no longer in effect, right? So you have to make sure you have a Terra Pokemon down in order for this card to work. But like I said, once you get the Terra Pokemon down, you can have up to 8 bench Pokemon. That can open up a lot of doors for all kinds of strategies. But of course, it will make Palkia VSTAR even stronger. We all know Palkia VSTAR's main attack, Subspace Well, for 2 water energy, does 60 plus 20 more damage for each benched Pokemon. So a lot of the time, when you're playing against Palkia, you have to be very careful with how many Pokemon you put on your bench. If you overbench, Palkia VSTAR can come in and hit you for an insane amount of damage. With full benches, it is doing 260 damage, which is pretty dirty. And with the new Area Zero Depths, holy moly, tongue twister there. It's doing more damage. I think it's doing plus 120 damage from the 260 base damage it would already be doing if both players happen to have 8 Pokemon on their bench. That's 16 Pokemon. That's kind of crazy, dude. Palkia would be hitting some ridiculously high numbers. It's even knocking out most EXs at that point. I mean, yeah, it would just be doing an absurd amount of damage. Even if you were to bench 3 extra Pokemon and your opponent has their bench full, that's still 280, 300, and 320 damage just for that. Even if your opponent doesn't fill their bench up past the 5 bench Pokemon threshold, you're still doing 320 damage. And of course, 340, 360. Palkia is hitting some just absurdly high numbers thanks to Area Zero Depths. Now, you do have to play a Terra Pokemon in order to make this card work. Thankfully, we can play something like the Wellspring Ogerpon. It's a water-type basic Pokemon, so technically it does synergize with Palkia VSTAR's VSTAR Power Star Portal, so there is some synergy there. I guess you could use Sob as a win condition too, but you just want to have a basic Terra Pokemon on your bench. The other one that I think has some value in the deck is actually the brand new Terapagos EX. Now, this card is looking pretty good with this new Stadium card, but if you want to play with Palkia, because Palkia might just be a stronger version of this card. So this card is a basic Pokemon with 230 HP. It is a Terra Pokemon. It is a colorless Pokemon. It's got 2 attacks. The main one you're probably going to use is Unified Beatdown for 2 colorless energy, does 30 damage, and of course, does 30 damage for each of your benched Pokemon. Obviously, with Area Zero Depths in play, you're hitting some pretty high numbers. And then, of course, the effect is if you go second, you can't use the attack. So they kind of made it so this thing can't just randomly donk stuff. Turn 1 with like a double turbo and a bunch of bench Pokemon, which is fair enough. So this is another Terra Pokemon you can play. It's very similar to Palkia. It's doing more damage for each of your bench Pokemon. So it's kind of similar to Palkia, and it does activate Area Zero Depths, and it synergizes with it, so why not play it? Another interesting thing is actually any Pokemon in play. Like I said, you want to have at least 8 Pokemon in play so that Palkia does that damage. I mean, 320 damage Palkia sounds pretty good, and just hitting those insanely high numbers, even if your opponent's trying to play around it, like honestly, even if they have 3 Pokemon on the bench, I mean, you can still do like 260 damage with your full bench. You're still hitting past those thresholds, but you do have to fill your bench up. One of the best ways to do so is, of course, the brand new Noctowl. Now, Noctowl and Fan Rotom are both of the 2 new cards that actually synergize. Noctowl's got the effect, and actually, funny enough, this deck might just be the newborn of the, or the reborn, I should say, of the Palkia Inteleon engine deck, because Noctowl is very similar to Shady Dealings Inteleon. When you play it from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, if you have any Terra Pokemon in play, Ogerpon or, Terapagos, you can search your deck for 2 trainers and put them in your hand. Like I said, it's very similar to Shady Dealings Inteleon, which was Palkia's best friend back in the day. So that archetype is sort of coming back with Noctowl. And of course, there's the Fan Rotom, which is another good way to find your Pokemon. Fan call. Once during your turn, you may search deck for up to 3 colorless Pokemon with 100 HP or less and put them into your hand. That's a pretty good ability. That just finds you a bunch of your basics, like your Hoot Hoots. And again, your Hoot Hoots and I think your Noctowls is pretty good too. So you're just getting a lot of support out of that Fan Rotom. It's a pretty broken ability, and that alone will make like Terapagos really good. But I think Palkia VSTAR is going to be potentially better than Terapagos because Palkia is bulkier and it can hit even higher damage. The other thing with Palkia, we all know what makes Palkia so good sometimes is having access to immediate Radiant Greninja pressure. Whenever you're playing against Palkia, you don't have a Manaphy in your deck, or you do have a Manaphy, you have to get that thing down immediately because a lot of the time when playing against a Palkia deck, they can use Star Portal and power up Radiant Greninja's Moonlight Shuriken out of nowhere, and that is pretty darn scary. And that's one of the big things with Palkia is getting Moonlight Shurikened. And not only do you have the ability to do an insane amount of damage, but you also have Moonlight Shuriken at your disposal, so you have a bit of draw with Greninja, but you can also use Greninja if your opponent does not have a Manaphy in play. You can actually take 2 prizes that way. And that also makes Palkia even stronger because it's harder to play around this thing now because at least one of your bench Pokemon has to be a Manaphy, and then you can only have maybe like potentially only like 2 or 2 other Pokemon on your bench, to be honest, because the more Pokemon you bench, the harder Palkia is going to be hitting. I've seen a list here also using the Monkey Dory in the deck. Monkey Dory is not a bad idea. In Palkia, you can obviously put energy on the Monkey Dory. Palkia takes a hit. That's an extra 30 damage you get to do with Palkia, making its damage output even higher on top of the fact that you can fill your bench up. Something like the Night Stretcher is really good in the deck, too. It's a great way to recover your Pokemon, like, if you want to recover your Ogerpon, you want to cover your Terapagos, get back your Greninja without having to shuffle them back in the deck. So the Night Stretchers are really cool. You can also get back basic energy, which can be really good. Obviously, Irida is still in the format. Palkia still has access to Irida. Like I said, this deck is going to play very similarly to the Shady Dealings Inteleon engine Palkia decks of the old days, but now you also have a new stadium to increase your damage even more. Like, imagine if this card existed during the Astral Radiance meta. Holy moly, it would be just absurd. We have a new supporter card here, which I think is... It's not Lacey, right? No, I think it was the other one. Hold on. It was Crispin, right? Am I trolling? Yeah, it's Crimson, right? Crimson? Yeah, this one. Yeah. So this one is a great way to get energy into play. So Palkia does still struggle with getting energy out. Melanie did rotate, which would have been a fantastic card to have in this deck. But you do have this new supporter, which allows you to search your deck for up to 2 base energies of different types. Reveal them, put one in your hand and the other on one of your Pokemon. So you can use this card to attach a water energy from your deck to your Palkia, kind of like a mini version of Melanie. I mean, you're not going to draw cards like Melanie did, but it is another way to put energy on Palkia. You can obviously Star Portal to your Palkia, but you can also use Crispin to also get energy onto your Palkia, which is pretty good. Pheasantipity is not a bad idea either. The one thing I like about this deck is, like, it's not really utilizing Bibarel or Pidgeot, no big scary draw engine. It's just playing the engine of Noctowl to find your trainer cards for consistency and having stuff like Mew, Greninja, and Pheasantipity for the basic draw support. Pheasantipity X is going to be a really good new card in Shrouded Fable, and Palkia with Area Zero Depths can definitely take advantage of it. You just bench it, draw 3 cards. Pretty solid stuff. We can see another Palkia list here. Same thing, kind of the same concept, the Noctowl. The Noctowl engine makes too much sense not to play in the deck. Like, it's just too good. I mean, it's very similar to Shady Dealings Inteleon, which was already good with Palkia. So I think we're going to see a lot of these decks play the Noctowl. We can see here, this one does have the Cologne, so you can still lean into Prime Catcher Cologne Greninja plays out of nowhere if you can get access to that. Squawkabilly is kind of cool. You can do that to draw more cards, to set you up a little bit more to be more aggressive. Got another build here, just playing up the water energy. Like the pure water energy build of Palkia might be better than the Monkey Dory build. I guess there are benefits of the Monkey Dory build of Palkia, because then, of course, you can use Monkey Dory against, like, Dragapult. I don't know how good Dragapult is going to be yet, but, I mean, hey, Dragapult still exists in the Stellar format, then might be good to have that in the deck, too. But, yeah, a lot of the list here you can see. Similar concept, Terapagos, Wellspring Ogerpon, they got the Noctowl, the Fan Rotom, similar like Pokemon lineup too. This one here does play Teal Mask Ogerpon, which the advantage of having some Teal Masks in the deck is not only does it work with the Area Zero Depths, but you can also use the Teal Mask Ogerpon to deal with Charizard. So while you're swinging away with Palkia, honestly, it's not very hard for Palkia to knock out Pidgeot EX now with Area Zero Depths. You can also use Ogerpon in the background, gives you a bit of a draw engine, and it lets you threaten a one-shot on Charizard. I mean, with 3 Grass Energy on, the Ogerpon does want to KO Charizard. So now even your Ogerpon is going to be a good attacker. So this could be good. If Zard still exists in the Stellar Crown format, maybe playing Teal Mask Ogerpon is better than Wellspring and Terapagos. So maybe there's something to look into there. I've even been thinking about Ogerpon Palkia right now in our current format, believe it or not. So this could actually translate well into the next format too. Who knows? This build here is interesting. We see Shempao in the deck. You do already have Earthen Vessel, but you can use Shempao to Shivery Chill for water energies. Another thing with this list here is actually it's playing the 4 Trumpet. So it has the Trumpet, the Terapagos, and Shempao. It's kind of like a mix of attackers. I guess we can look at the Trumpet card real quick. Another insanely good card. I mean, eventually we'll look at Terapagos decks, obviously, but Glass Trumpet is kind of insane. You can only use this effect if, of course, you have a Terra Pokemon in play, Terapagos in this case. You choose up to 2 of your bench colorless Pokemon and attach a basic energy from your discard pile to each of them. So this is a great way to get energy into play on your Terapagos. So in this build here of the deck, the Terapagos ends up being an attacker with Glass Trumpet. You can also use Trumpet with Shempao, though. So technically, you can Star Portal the Shempao and then play a bunch of Glass Trumpets, put energy on your bench, and then add Shempao out of nowhere. There's some sneaky plays you can make with that, and that's interesting that this build can actually get away with. We got a lot of builds here. Again, they're all playing the Noctowl engine. Again, it makes too much sense not to play. See if there's anything else spicy going on. Gengar is interesting too. Gengar does auto put itself onto your bench if it's in the discard pile, so we've already seen a few of these Palkia decks play the Gengar. I'm not too sure how relevant the Gengar is going to be, but I mean, it does get an extra Pokemon to play from discard pile, so I guess there is some merit to that. We got a build here playing a 1/1 Pidgeot. I don't hate it. I mean, Pidgeot's a pretty good card. You know, any deck that can utilize it ain't too shabby. You can also use Pidgeot, or Pidgeotto anyways, with Rotom. But I guess this deck doesn't even play Rotom, actually. Huh. Okay, never mind. This deck doesn't even have Rotom. I thought I had a Rotom in the deck. You could use Fan Rotom to find Pidgey and Pidgeotto, right? I guess. Another build here with the Terapagos and the Shempao. So I guess there's a few builds using that Terapagos Shempao engine. This one also plays a 1/1 Bibarel. You can find BDIF fairly easy with Fan Rotom, giving you a little bit more draw. Is Bibarel better than Fezandipity? I think Fezandipity is better because it's not a liability like Bibarel is. I mean, it is a liability in a form of a 2-prizer, but it's not a liability that gets stuck in the active. So I don't even know if I'd play Bibarel in the deck, to be honest with you. I'm a big Bibarel fan, as you know, but I don't know if you really need it. Like, kind of the downside of Noctowl, though, you can see in all these builds here with Noctowl, there's no Scoop Up net anymore, and they're not playing Scoop Up Cyclone as the A-Spec. Their A-Spec is always just Prime Catcher. Prime Catcher is broken in Palkia, especially if you play Clone Prime Catcher with Irida. You can easily get, like, Greninja KOs out of nowhere. But you know, maybe we could play Scoop Up Cyclone to reuse Noctowl. Who knows? Maybe there's some value in that. Kind of like how you would play Scoop Up Net, or at least maybe even playing like a Turo in the deck. I haven't seen a list yet with Turo, I don't think. None of the decks are playing Turo. But yeah, the Noctowl engine just feels so good. Like, this deck genuinely could be an insanely good deck when it comes out. We see a build here with a 1-prize Keldeo. I think it does more damage for each of your bench Pokemon, I'm pretty sure, for 2 energy. I think that's what that Keldeo does. And you can obviously, you know, use it as a 1-prize attacker against Mimikyu, because you do have a Canton clone, but, you know, Mimikyu can get rid of it, of course. You do have Greninja, but you have to discard energy. So Keldeo does make sense to play in Palkia as a way to deal with Mimikyu, I guess, because you can hit really hard. Yeah, interesting. A lot of lists here. Just basically, all lists are kind of similar in terms of what they're playing. We got another Monkey Dory build. The Monkey Dory build seems okay. Again, it'll depend on how, like, popular the spread decks are, but Monkey Dory could be good. Let's see what else there is. Another build here with... This one's got Monkey Dory, Gengar, and Bibarel, and, like, it's combining everything in one. I don't know, maybe Bibarel is worth it. I don't know. I don't know if you need it, though, because you don't have as much switch, right? So it's just kind of awkward. More of a liability. A lot of them are also just playing the same Terra Pokemon. I mean, those are the best 2 Terra Pokemon, obviously. It's got to be the Terapagos and the Wellspring Ogerpon. So build here with some extra energy to try to attack with Terapagos. It is playing 3 Terapagos and 2/2 Palkia. So it's more of a Terapagos deck, it looks like here, but it also can take advantage of the Palkia. I mean, with the Glass Trumpets and stuff, I guess it's not that hard to use Terapagos' other attack, Crown Opal, that does 180 damage, and then during your next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by basic non-colorless Pokemon. I mean, we all know Noivern sees some play in Regidrago for a reason, and this is kind of similar to what Noivern does in Drago. So I guess there is some merit to trying to attack with Crown Opal. It's harder to build up, but it depends on how much Energy Excel you're playing. I guess you can pull it off a little bit easier. More Monkey Dory builds here. More Noctowl builds. This one plays Iron Valiant. Iron Valiant's not bad. That's even more damage. If you play enough switching cards, you can go in Iron Valiant. So with the full bench thing, you're already hitting really hard. Maybe you just need the Iron Valiant to fix the math. Technically, Iron Valiant is plus 40 damage for Palkia if you can use its ability with the switch, right? Because it puts a Pokemon on your bench for Subspace Well, and it adds extra 20 damage when you switch into the active. So it's plus 40 for Palkia. So maybe there's some merit to playing Iron Valiant. It punishes your opponent a little bit more, or at least makes it harder for them to play around the Palkia attack. There's a build with Kyurem here. This one's, what the heck? It's like more of a control style build. That's interesting. Okay. We got more builds, just playing the more stuff. This one's got a Lapras in the deck. I don't think Lapras is insane with Palkia. Let me see if I can find Lapras real quick. I think it's water, right? Yeah. I don't think Lapras EX is fantastic with Palkia. It does have that power splash attack that does 40 damage for each water energy on this Pokemon. So I guess you could Star Portal to it, but it's only doing, what, 120? With 3 energy, attach 160. That's still not worth it. I guess the other attack, if you can build it up, maybe look at the top 20 cards of your deck, attach any number of basic, or touch any number of energy you find there to your Pokemon you really like. I mean, this probably would work more of its own deck, less than actually in a Palkia deck, I guess. But it is a Taro Pokemon, so you need a Taro Pokemon to put down. I guess Lapras and Ogerpon makes sense. I think Trobagos might just be better, but maybe there is some merit to Lapras. We got some more builds here playing the Monkey Dories. Monkey Dory or Trobagos also seems good, I guess, too. That could work. Yeah, it looks like that's it. And then, yeah, it looks like that's it for the new Palkia decks. All the other decks here are just like a bit more older. But there you go. Those are all the Palkia decks with Stellar Crown. It hasn't been out for that long in Japan at the time of recording this, but I'm sure we'll get more Palkia lists. And, you know, I think Palkia looks really good. I mean, just again, being able to abuse Noctowl, kind of like how you would abuse Shady Dealings and Talion, having the new Area Zero Depths Stadium card to make Palkia even stronger. It's just insane. Palkia VSTAR is genuinely going to be good. It has Greninja. It's got Shady Dealings again. It has a Stadium that makes it broken. Like, Palkia is looking pretty good in this new format. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how good Palkia is going to be. We haven't seen the rest of Stellar Crown yet, obviously. I think there's still another set to be revealed. So we'll have to see if there's any other big Pokemon that get printed that can rival Palkia, or at least maybe scare Palkia off a little bit. Maybe Miraidon stonks are going to go up again with Stellar Crown. Because like Palkia, like I said, it's looking to be a potential BDIF contender with how strong it is. Palkia's power level just shot up by like 1,000%. It's crazy. But that'll be for me on today's video here. We looked at all the different lists. Again, the main takeaway is they're all using Fan, Rotom, Noctowl, Tropicos, Ogerpon. There's some playing the Monkey Dory, some don't play Monkey Dory, some play Bibarel. There's definitely different ways you can tweak the Palkia list to your liking, but I think Palkia is looking really good. I hope you enjoyed the video. Once again, I'll leave a link to Pokebook down below if you want to go check out any of the decks for yourself. And I think maybe soon we'll look at more Stellar Crown decks. Like, definitely look more at like the Tropicos decks and other EXs from the new set that got revealed. So hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch y'all later. Bye-bye.